Okay, we need to talk. I keep hearing complaints about President Trump all the time. It's almost as bad as during the election season. I think it's time to start blaming Canada and Canadian government for what's going on. Look, President Trump was in power from 2017 to 2020, right? I don't think he did anything too bad towards Canada. And we had 4 years to recover under Joe Biden. I understand that there was COVID and all of that stuff with Ukraine. However, you can't keep blaming President Trump for what's going on. Literally, President Trump took office in January, and all we heard during elections was elbows up, everything that's bad with Canada is Trump's fault. Well, that's not true. Let's look what's bad with Canada, actually. Let's start with Bill C-69. Who passed the Bill C-69? That's right, Liberal government during their 10 years of reign of terror, if you want to call it like that, I would. Anyway, so what's a Bill C-69? That's essentially a bill that makes it almost impossible to build a new pipelines or open the new mines. The bureaucracy on that bill is ridiculous. It takes about 15 years to open the new mine. And you know which provinces are richest in Canada and why? Do you know who pays the most equalization payments all over Canada to other provinces? Alberta. Alberta means oil and gas, right? Oil and gas means you need pipelines. So this bill essentially goes against GDP of Canada, against economy of Canada. That's what holds us back. That's what makes us poor, literally. And who's the next province? Well, other than Sask, we have BC, right? British Columbia. What are they famous for? Coal mines. And again, to approve new coal mine, 15 years. And one of the mines is already decommissioned since then, and they didn't have a chance to open the new one. Like, I was in the Coal Mountain in Sparwood, and the nature is pretty much taking over. We should have opened the new one. I'm not saying that mining is the best way for the nature or anything, but hey, what's your what do you have against pipelines? It's definitely better than mining. But anyway, so that's just one example. Bill C-69, right? Then we have a freedom of speech. I don't remember the name of the bill. If it's Bill, I would have to Google it. But since COVID, we're not allowed to post the news on the Instagram and Facebook. That didn't happen during President Trump. It wasn't his idea. It actually happened when he was nowhere to be found. No one cared about him. It was during Joe Biden, right? And right now, Mark Carney, our beloved prime minister, elbows up, right? Right now, he doubled down on it. He literally said that we should trust the government-funded news stations. And I'll remind you, I keep reminding it to people every single time in every video. Mark Carney, prior to winning election, went into some interview or speech or whatever you want to call it, and literally promised CBC News $130 million a year if he wins the election. That's literally bribery live on TV. And we should trust in the government media. Do you remember COVID? When we got censored, when you literally wrote COVID-19 and you got fact-checked and possibly your post got banned or deleted? And we should trust in that? Let's think about third example. What's the third example? Ooh, this one's really shocking. So right now I live in Alberta. We have issues with wildfires, right? Literally 3 seasons out of 4 you can smell smoke in the air. And the smoke comes from BC, Sask, all around, right? But I can literally guarantee that at least few days in every season other than winter, you can smell smoke. Well, do you think federal government does something about the wildfires? Well, let's compare it. I asked Grok, because there was just so much stuff, so many numbers, and I didn't want to search through the different articles. So bear with me a little bit. So I asked Grok if Canada invested more into Ukraine or fighting wildfires. So look, financial aid to Ukraine since 2022, 20 billion Canadian dollars. It includes financial help, humanitarian, military development, everything. And yes, of course, you can say, oh, it was during Trudeau's era, blah, blah, blah. Well, Mark Carney promised them $4.3 billion during this G7 summit. So just keep that in mind, that it's not Trudeau, it's not just Carney, it's liberals in general. Anyway, so here we have 20 billion Canadian dollars to Ukraine. Let's see about the wildfires. It actually, even on the Grok, it takes a while to find the final amount. So in total, to fight the wildfires with federal help and provincial help, combined, Canada paid or supported fight against wildfires with 6 to 7 billion Canadian dollars. So you have $20 billion on support of Ukraine versus $7 billion on what's going on here, home in Canada. 3 seasons a year. That's ridiculous. That should be considered treason, and that's taxpayers' money. Again, I mentioned it multiple times. I'm okay if there's going to be a referendum and all of the taxpayers will say, yes, we want to support Ukraine with 50% of our taxes. That's okay with me. If people will choose to do that, yes, let's do it. But look, if we're fighting with wildfires, if people are smelling this wildfires 3 seasons a year, obviously if you smell it, some of the particles get into your body. The cancer numbers will be much higher thanks to these wildfires. And what does Canadian government do? They don't care about Canadians. They care about foreign policy. That's just ridiculous. That's not right. Again, to me, that's borderline treason, and that's where our taxpayers' money go. And look, now in few provinces, I'm not sure which ones now. I think it's New Brunswick. Let me just Google it quickly. So right now you have New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and I think there's a third one, but I'm not sure. Well, in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, if you go to the forest right now, just for the stroll, nothing too crazy, you can get fined. You can get fined up to, I think, $150,000. I think the minimum is $25,000 Canadian. That's ridiculous. So we're trying to preserve nature in Canada, right? That's why we have Bill C-69, to preserve nature. But then the Canadians are not allowed to go to the nature. And I'm not talking to go camping, starting fires to, to grill your marshmallows or whatever. I'm not even talking about going to the nature and smoke. It's literally going to the nature with kids, with no risk of starting the fire. Like, you don't go there smoking or anything, and you still get fined. That's ridiculous. And you want to tell me that that's President Trump? So I gave you 4 examples that have nothing to do with President Trump. And let's talk about last thing. This one obviously will have something to do with President Trump, and its tariffs. So Mark Carney and his trade deal negotiation, complete fiasco. So liberals voted Mark Carney thinking that he has a resume to negotiate the best deal. Mark Carney actually said that once he gets elected, he's going to sign the deal because he had such a productive phone call with President Trump, right? Well, he bamboozled all of the liberal voters because we still don't have a deal. And what Mark Carney did? Actually, what we were afraid of, that he lied on his resume. He's not able to sign the deal. When he was close during the G7, they literally had the deal on the table, but Mark Carney and his negotiation team decided that they need to renegotiate CUSMA, or USMCA, the deal between the US, Mexico, and Canada, which obviously US disagreed with. Why would we renegotiate it when we already have a deal? So that's the first time Mark Carney messed up. Second time, digital service tax. President Trump asked him, can you pause it for 30 days while we negotiate trade deal? No, it's going to go into effect in 2-3 days. Why? Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you listen, sign the deal, and then you can start with the tax? Anyway, so then Mark Carney did even crazier thing. He just got rid of the tax. He didn't use it as a negotiation token. He just got rid of it. And what was the last thing he did? So since July, everyone knew that we're going to have higher tariffs starting August 1st if we don't sign the trade deal. What Mark Carney did? End of August, and he's starting to talk about recognizing Palestine as a sovereign nation. Again, he's not caring about Canadians, which would mean that he's going to sign the trade deal and then he can talk about foreign policies, right? But he does even worse thing, which again proves that he lied on his resume. He starts supporting Palestine that doesn't have their terrorist issues solved yet. And don't get me wrong, I don't support Israel or Palestine. I think it's bad. Palestinians definitely deserve to have their own state, Palestinian people. But the Palestine right now, under Hamas, Hezbollah, all of that needs to get solved before we talk about anything else. And we all know US and President Trump supports Israel. So why would you do an announcement like this prior to signing the deal? And when you have deadline in few days to sign the deal, again, to me that just proves that he does not care about Canadians, or he's incompetent, one or another. And now I'm a little bit tinfoil head, right? A little bit conspiracy theory, but there might be some benefit for him. He usually acts in his own interest, self-interest, whatever you want to call it. We know how much conflict of interest he has, right? So maybe for Mark Carney, it's actually beneficial when we don't have a trade deal with US. And I can go on and on. Like, one thing that bothers me a lot. So the tariffs are on the Canadian products going into US. So why are our groceries in Canada so expensive? Why is government not doing anything about it? Because look, the groceries we bring from US should be cheap, right? The groceries we are supposed to shop locally, why would they make money off us because of US tariffs? Doesn't make sense. It's something that government should look into, right? So tell me, why? Why did everything got so expensive? I understand that the Canadians company will be like, yeah, let's spike the price, make for the lost profit, right? But that's when government should step in. That's when we should be allowed to buy American products. Because Hey, as long as I remember, we don't have 35% tariffs on American products yet. I don't know. It's just crazy to me that people still blame President Trump for everything that's wrong with Canada. If you have different opinion, I would love to hear it. If you're a liberal voter, I would love to hear your reasoning why you voted for liberals. I had some comment. The comment said something about right-wing and far-right people. Look, for 10 years, liberals were in power. What do you know what the far right-wing would even do? I don't know. I'm not saying conservatives would fix everything that's wrong with Canada. But doing the same thing all over again, it's literally the definition of insanity. And that's what Canadian liberal voters did. Everything's gonna be better than these past 10 years, but you decided let's go for more, or how many, I don't even know. Anyway, if you have different opinion, please shoot me a comment. If you like video, like, subscribe, and see you next time.